Why didn't they take Ukraine during the Trump administration? And by the way, Taiwan's going to be next. Just watch Taiwan. He's watching President
Well, that's
Xi
what I want to
watching
ask
it
you.
with glee.
Trump has been saying a lot lately, but what is all this about Taiwan? We're going to talk about it. Hi, I'm Yasmin with Rebel HQ.
I want to ask you about that because a U.S. delegation is visiting Taiwan in a show of support. There are fears mounting of a Chinese invasion in Taiwan. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arrived there today, and he got a warm welcome. President Trump, do you expect China to invade Taiwan sooner rather than later?
I do, because they're seeing how stupid the United States is run. They're seeing that our leaders are incompetent, and of course they're going to do it. This is their time. And he sees that, and this is his opportunity to do what he wants to do, which is he's wanted to do that, and China's wanted to do that for decades.
Now, the first thing you need to understand is that China does not recognize Taiwan as its own independent country. Taiwan functions as its own country, though it holds its own democratic elections and everything. So right off the bat, you can already see the similarities between China's relationship with Taiwan and Russia's relationship with Ukraine. In fact, China is so adamant that Taiwan is not its own country that people have gotten into trouble with its government for referring to it as one. So John Cena recently tweeted about the country of Taiwan in regards to something with the Fast and the Furious movies, so he had to publicly apologize to the people of China.
我有一个错误，我必须说现在就是很重要，我爱更尊重中国更中国人，我很抱歉。
The general manager of the Houston Rockets actually had a similar run-in with the Chinese government that led to LeBron James having to do damage control, which is already kind of interesting, although that situation was regarding Hong Kong rather than Taiwan. But the most notable of these was when the newly elected President Trump took a call from Taiwan in which the two leaders congratulated each other on their presidential elections. Trump tweeted about it, breaking with U.S. foreign policy before he was even inaugurated.
President-elect Donald Trump defended his break with decades of U.S. foreign policy, tweeting, "Interesting how the U.S. sells Taiwan billions of dollars in military equipment, but I should not accept a congratulatory call." That call came on Friday from Taiwan's new president, Tsai Ing-wen, but defied the U.S. One China policy in place since 1979. It identifies Beijing as the official point of diplomatic contact for Taiwan since its sovereignty is in dispute.
So maybe Trump isn't the best point person when it comes to foreign policy. To corroborate that point even further, his former National Security Advisor John Bolton just did an interview with Newsmax in which he said that during his time as president, Trump, quote, barely knew where Ukraine was, and that he once asked, quote, if Finland were a part of Russia. But before we get into that, why does China think that Taiwan is a part of it? Well, in the 1900s, China was in a weakened state following 2 opium wars and a deadly civil war that was made worse by World War I. Russia had already taken Manchuria, and Japan, per the Treaty of Versailles, took the Shandong Peninsula, Korea, and Taiwan. With the country suffering from over a century of disunity, a nationalist movement led by Sun Yat-sen arose. This movement declared a new government in the formerly dynastic China, creating the Republic of China, or the ROC. The ROC was governed by a single-party authoritarian regime called the Kuomintang, or the KMT, which is still today one of the major political parties of Taiwan. Meanwhile, the Communist faction of China, which was backed by Russia and led by Mao Zedong, rose up and defeated the nationalists. After World War II, China had regained Taiwan from Japan, so when the KMT was forced to flee from Mao, they went to Taiwan. What happened then was a weird situation where the ROC was claiming to be the official government of China, even though it had been relegated to a small island. Meanwhile, the communists set up the People's Republic of China, or the PRC, on the mainland. The rest of the world had to decide which government it wanted to recognize. By 1979, the Chinese began to be more friendly with the American government, so at that point, we recognized the PRC as the official government of China. In so doing, we repealed an existing treaty that we had with Taiwan, and we replaced it with the Taiwan Relations Act, or the TRA. The TRA maintains a friendly relationship with Taiwan, but it does not guarantee military support in the event of an attack from China. The nature of any military support that's granted will be determined on a case-by-case basis by the current president and Congress. As of 2016, with bipartisan support, the U.S. issued the 6 assurances regarding its ongoing relationship with Taiwan. They stated, number 1, there would be no end date for terminating arms sales to Taiwan. Number 2, the U.S. would not serve as a mediator between China and Taiwan. Number 3, the U.S. will not influence Taiwan to negotiate with China. Number 4, the U.S. maintains its position on Taiwanese sovereignty. Number 5, the TRA stands as is. And finally, number 6, the U.S. is not obligated to confer with China over arms sales to Taiwan. Now, China wants Taiwan back, and they're willing to go to war over it. Since the KMT set up shop in Taiwan, they've set up their own democratically run government, a government that maintains close economic ties with the mainland, but it doesn't want to be a part of it. Today, the people of Taiwan live in the shadow of the Chinese military, which has become more bold in its encroachment of the small island. Evidence has recently come out suggesting that China was aware of Russia's intent to invade Ukraine well in advance of it happening. The fear is that China will take this opportunity to launch a similar attack on Taiwan while the rest of the world is distracted. Taiwan's vocal and financial support for the people of Ukraine could potentially worsen the situation as well. Of course, the larger fear of all of this is that the world could find itself engaged in a multi-front war, starting in Ukraine, expanding to Taiwan, and maybe even affecting neighboring regions such as India and Pakistan. So in this case, Trump's not saying anything new or particularly insightful. Anyone with some knowledge of the situation can see how he reached his conclusion that China might invade Taiwan sooner than later. The logic he took to get to that point is questionable, to put it nicely, but regardless, this is a situation that world leaders are keeping a close eye on. Thanks.